got to see, but that car looks in big trouble. And also big trouble here for the number 46 Lister Jaguar. Two of these cars which carry the hopes of many British fans. But meanwhile, a very good performance indeed from the pink McLaren, just leading Mario Andretti. The pink McLaren driven by two Japanese drivers and Gary Isles, the young British driver who previously raced in Ferraris. But meanwhile, here's an excursion for one of the Courages, taking the wild old ride, and that's the number 8 car of Collard, Pescarola and Belloc. That's the car which is backed by the French Motor Racing University La Filière, sponsored by ELF, and I'm not sure they teach them that in the classroom. Little bit of onboard action here through the chicane once again. And there's that bright pink McLaren again, and that's Keiichi Tsuchiya at the wheel, and he has been doing an outstanding job. Well, the first round of pit stops, Michele Alboreto, you notice, staying at the wheel for a second stint. And that pit stop happening after about 43 minutes. And back on board with Alain Ferté, soaring at the wheel and taking to the grass. These Porsche, of course, the flat 6 engine, and discussions in the pits. And that's the Swede Fredrik Ekblom, who'd been doing an outstanding job out there, well inside the top 10 with that Courage, staying in for a second stint, and the leading of the 4 Courages. All those cars using Porsche engines, indeed the same Porsche engine that is fitted to the factory GT1s. They may look very different, the open top Porsches and the GT cars, but they all have basically the same engine in it. And so the first pit stop from the Porsche coming at 45 minutes into the race. It'll be very interesting to see how long it is before the McLaren BMWs come in. Have they got better fuel consumption? It might make a lot of difference over the space of 24 hours. Another of the Paynos is there, spitting flames. Ekblom back on the track. And what's happening here? Oh, a very hairy moment. Ekblom dives down the inside of the Paynos, and then another Courage takes to the gravel. Well, fortunately getting away with that. Obviously we've got quite a disparity of speeds. There's the Lister Jaguar, and meanwhile the Paynos goes on its way. And a pit stop very soon after the Porsche for the number 43 McLaren. That's Peter Cox, Revaglia and Eric Hellery, a former winner. And here we have a Marcos in trouble, a little British manufacturer. One of their cars didn't get in. And here's the number 70 machine of the Dutchman Koreuse with Harold Becker and the Japanese Toshio Suzuki. And after 1 hour, that was the position. Most of the pit stops accomplished, and the Jost Porsche in the lead by just 1.6 seconds. There it goes, an outstanding job by Michele Alboreto, and already cars being lapped. There, the yellow and black car is one of the leading GT2s, and it ducks out of the way as a Nissan blasts past. That's Enzo Calderari, and it looks as if the Paynos was limping, and problems for that Ferrari of Michel Ferté, stranded out on the Mulsanne straight. Well, he gets it going again. Not sure if that was the result of a spin or... Well, it really doesn't want to go, that car, does it? Well, now it's underway. Well, here's a Paynos already in the pits, and the Ferrari limping. That could be something like a fuel pump problem. And a big cloud of smoke coming out of the back of the Marcos, and that is not going to go very far at all. No question of doubt about that. Just look at that. The vaporized oil leaving that great smoke trail behind the Marcos Chevrolet engine in that car, and still the Ferrari is trying to make it over the hill. A bit of a tall order. And that Paynos in the pits apparently has gearbox problems. Alboreto in the lead then in the second hour, chased by the two factory Porsches. And what's going on here? In fact, I think this is the battle for third place, and that's a wild old place to overtake, and I think that is the number 26 car. Yes, that's the Yannick Dalmas, Ralph Kellener's Emmanuel Collard car. I think it's Kellener's at the wheel. Well, that could so nearly have ended in disaster. The Marcos still limped in, and oh, just even blowing smoke rings. Just look at that. Well, that car is unquestionably history. And here's a problem, and this is the Lister Jaguar, the second of the two. George Fouché at the wheel. The South African comes to Le Mans every year, and that damage, I think, can only have been done by George backing into the wall. Meanwhile, the Hoshino Komas Kageyama Nissan has spun. Now we can see what happens down at the slowest corner on the circuit. Arnage, very tricky approach, misses the apex, goes out wide, the tail takes over, the Golf McLaren slips through and fortunately does not hit the Armco barrier, so just embarrassing. Couple of seconds lost, no problem in a 24-hour race, and the Nissan's looking pretty strong. But so too are the McLaren BMWs. Two cars from the Schnitzer team, sponsored by FINA. Two cars from the British GTC team, sponsored by Golf. A third car actually caught fire during the qualifying and was too badly damaged. And then, of course, the Lark car we've already seen. There is the British driver, Steve Soper, getting into the cockpit. JJ Leto climbs out. And the pit stop taking 56.4 seconds up there on the caption, and then pulling out of the pits and immediately into the new chicane area just before the Dunlop Bridge. And here's that black Paynos again that was in trouble right at the very beginning, and the largely French-driven Golf McLaren having a wild old spin here. I think it is Jean-Marc Gounon driving and spinning right in front of the three cars. Absolutely amazing. And is he going to be rammed? He must be, no, amazingly, Mauro Baldi in that Porsche manages to drive round him, and well, that was a heart-stopping moment. Could have collected all three of the pursuers there, and continues on his way, and the Porsche delayed a little bit by that incident. Here's another of these leading Porsches. That's the factory car there, the number 26 car, and chased by the Scuderia BMS car from Italy. And you can see how hard the brakes are working there. The carbon fibre disc glowing cherry red. They'll have to be changed during the race. They wear so much they have to be replaced, and those pit stops always take a little longer. Well, Michele Alboreto climbs out, his second stop. The car still in the lead. Stefan Johansson, another former Ferrari driver. He drove with Ferrari at the same time as Alboreto in the 80s. He's also been racing out in the States. He has gone into semi-retirement this year, has Johansson, but could not resist driving this superb piece of Anglo-German engineering. And there is Stefan wearing the shades. So he takes over the lead car, and a spin from the Paynos. That's the one we saw in the pits with gearbox trouble. Brabham McCarthy and the American Doc Bundy. Paynos have been struggling to try and find more power from their engines. This is a Reynard design chassis and handles apparently superbly. Now here is that Japanese run McLaren, or British run for BMW Japan, and slow-mo shot seeing it getting away from its driver. I think it's now Nakaya at the wheel and leaving big black marks. Meanwhile, we go back in car. I think we're with one of the FINA McLarens here.